Good afternoon, everybody, all the viewers and listeners. We are live. My name is Johnny Farias. I'm here with Community News, and thank you again for tuning in. Today we have, which I've had in a long time, a sitting judge, Mavel Ruiz. How you doing? And thank you for coming on to the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm doing great.
That's good. That's good. So, for those that don't know, judges have to go for election every 6 years. Correct?
That's right.
Every 6 years. So during every election cycle, you need to look and see and look at the judges that are running. A lot of us don't pay attention to that, but it's very important for those that that want to know which judges are for the community and what they're doing. This is a way to find out. But today, like I said, we have Mavel Ruiz. And I want to talk a little bit about you. What was your trajectory from when you started, and what made you go into the judiciary system?
Well, let's see. First, I was born in Cuba, and I came to the United States when I was 5 years old. My mom was 23 years old, and I think my father was like 26. So, with a 5-year-old.
Wow.
So, they came to this country, and they worked really, really hard, followed the rules, and, we've lived the American dream for sure. My parents, especially my mom, believed very much in education. So, I had no choice. I knew very young that I had to go to college. So I did. I went to Miami-Dade College for a couple years. Then I went to Rutgers University in Newark, New Jersey for 4 years. And then I became a lawyer. What prompted me to become a lawyer was a book that I read called Against All Odds. And it was written by a Cuban political prisoner. And his name is Armando Valladares. Thank goodness he's still very much alive, and he was released after serving 20 years. So I read that book, and it was so inspirational. I was living in New Jersey, New York at the time, and I wanted to get involved in things like that, human rights, and I started to learn about why he was in prison. He was just a college kid, and he just did not agree with the revolution and those things, and he put out some flyers, just like the ones that I hand out to people, and for that he served 20 years, and he's lucky he made it out alive. So that inspired me to become a lawyer. So after spending 12, 13 years in New York and New Jersey, I came back home to Miami. I am a proud Hialeah High graduate.
There you go.
I'm a proud thoroughbred, and my mom still lives in Hialeah today. So it's your typical story. So many people in Miami that have the same story that I do, and so. I went to law school. I pretty much, Johnny, did it on my own. My family didn't have money to...
Against all odds.
Right. Against all odds. That's right. My family didn't have the money to help me or whatever. So I ended up going to law school later in life after, I think it was 31. So I had to do it on my own. So once I did that, I decided to come back home to Miami and to be close to my family. And so I started working for the public defender's office. And I knew at some point, I knew that I wanted to go into public service. I wasn't interested in making $1 million. I really wanted to do public service. And I think that book kind of, prepared me for being an assistant public defender, So once I became an assistant public defender, they put me in a courtroom with Judge Thomas K. Peterson in juvenile. You remember the 27th Avenue, the juvenile courthouse? Remember
I was a guardian ad litem for many years.
Look at that. So you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am.
So the first day that I went to court as an assistant public defender, I went to Judge Peterson's courtroom. It was courtroom 2-5. And look at how what turns and what karma is like. So I walk in as an assistant public defender to courtroom 2-5 in front of Judge Peterson, and I saw him up there, and he was such a good person, and he saw that these kids many times didn't have, some kids were homeless, some kids didn't have parents, they were in foster care, and Judge Peterson always took all that stuff into consideration. He was an inspiration, honestly. So Fast forward to 2015, I put on a robe. It's the first day that I am going to act as a judge. And guess what courtroom I walked into?
2-5.
I walked into 2-5. I walked around past the chair where I used to sit as an assistant public defender. I walked around up the steps, and I sat in Judge Peterson's bench. And it's a proudest day for me and for my family. And so my very first day on the bench, I have a case where a kid, a teenager, comes in, and I saw that he was scruffy looking. He had some grass in his hair, and I said, tell me a little bit about your situation. And his lawyer says, Judge, he's homeless, and he's all by himself, but he's here in court today. So can you imagine that?
Wow.
Here's a kid who has nobody, and he comes to court at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning in juvenile court, and it was just so heartbreaking, really sad. So you know what that's about because you were a guardian ad litem. So I think my commitment to public service has just been something that's always been part of my life. And I don't know if that answers your question, but it gives you an idea how I ended up being a judge.
No, it does, and I mean, it shows me, and I'm pretty sure the viewers and listeners, the type of person you are, and not just the type of judge, but the type of person, coming from highly, doing it on your own, and I mean, and the book, the name of the book is just, I mean, for what you've been through, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us can relate to Against All Odds.
Yeah, it's true. That's funny. You're the only person that's made that connection. When I was first elected, the DBR did a story on me, and they asked me what led you to become a judge, and I talked about that, how that book inspired me. But you're the first one that connects it to me. It's like subliminal. It's been happening.
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, a lot of people should be able to relate. I'm from New York, from the projects. And look at me now. Now I'm a Navy veteran, so on and so on. But but this isn't about me; it's about you. But yes, I'm glad. I'm definitely glad that you took that way. We need more people like you. We need more judges like you. And as a person that did guardian ad litem for many years, I believe my judge was Judge Lederman.
Yes, Judge Lederman, good friend of mine.
That was a judge that I went to in front of a lot, because a lot of my cases and a lot of the children that I represented, and let me tell you, it was definitely a humbling experience. I enjoyed every day of it. In fact, I was one of the few men guardians.
Yes,
and because a lot of people didn't want to go down south, I did a lot of the cases down south, because they said that down south the kids were a little harder and rougher, so more people were afraid. But I mean, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I mean,
you're not afraid of anything.
No.
It's funny you should mention that, because I did my first 3 years as a judge in juvenile. So the first year was juvenile delinquency.
Right.
I started off with maybe 120, 140 cases. Wow. I tried so many cases. I went to trial on every case, and I had wonderful assistant state attorneys and assistant public defenders, and we went to trial on everything, to the point where we only had like 40 cases left. So they closed my division, and I went to dependency. But that was because everybody wanted to try cases, and so did I. Mm-hmm. So it was wonderful, because justice delayed is justice denied. So we went to trial right away, cleaned up everything to the point where there was hardly any cases left, and then they sent me to dependency. So dependency, I'm sure most people know, but that's where children that have been allegedly abused and neglected, they go to court, and then the court decides, is there enough evidence to terminate the parental rights, or is it a dependency case? And that's where you must have been a guardian ad litem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guardian ad litem. If people don't know who guardian ad litems are, they're court-appointed volunteer. By the way, these are volunteers. They get court-appointed by the court system to represent children that get removed from their homes for whatever reason. They get removed, whether it's drugs or crime or sexual, whatever it is, they get removed. And then, as a guardian ad litem, you're representing them as a third party. The children, and I took it seriously.
Yeah.
Some go out their way. Like I would visit the schools, the daycares, and make sure that everything was on. I have children of my own, and coming from a kid from the projects, I knew how important that was, because that's one of the reasons why I left New York. At 17, I joined the military because New York was getting bad, and I was like, there's got to be something better, and I joined. But no, that's why I've done some of the things I've done in my life to help out. Because I know you have to give back.
So being a guardian ad litem is so helpful to the court system, because your interest, your priority is that child.
Yep.
What's in the best interest of that child? You don't look at what's in the best interest of the parents or anything else. Let me tell you, Johnny, the things that I saw as a dependency judge were either the hardest things that I saw, even being an experienced criminal defense attorney. I was a criminal defense attorney for 19 years.
Wow.
Before I became a judge. So I had tremendous experience. I had 50 jury trials. I'd represented thousands of clients, done thousands of depositions. So I knew the criminal justice system. And there's an overlap, because some of the dependency cases where the kids are abused is because their families, their parents had committed crimes or had abused them, and that's why they were in jail, or that's why they had lost custody. But some of the things that I saw in dependency were some of the most heartbreaking things. I remember that about a week or two after I left dependency, I went over to the civil division. I remember looking up. I was walking from the Lawson building to the Dade County Courthouse, and I remember looking up at the sky and seeing a beautiful blue sky, sunny, a gorgeous Miami day. And I felt a weight lifted off of my shoulders, because you take that home with you when you see.
You have to.
When you see a child. I mean, these could be little kids, a year old, 5 years old, and what they have been through. It just weighs on you 24/7. So it was the first time that I had noticed a sunny day in 3 years.
No, I can imagine.
Very tough.
As a guardian ad litem, I already understand. That's why I took some of the cases I did, and some of them were heavy. But I did have a positive one. A few of them positive.
Yeah.
But one, I'm going to tell you a quick story. So I was at the fair, Dade County Youth Fair.
Yeah.
I was with my wife, my kids. We were walking, and a lady tapped my shoulder, and I turned around, and she says, "Hi, are you Johnny? You Farias?" I go, "Yes." She goes, I want you to meet my son, Johnny, because the infant at that time, he was an infant at that time. His name was Johnny also. And I looked, and I'm like, okay. It caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, who's this? And I'm like, I don't know. And then when she was explaining this to me, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you one of my guardians, the one that lived by the electrical supply store. That's why I based it. She goes, yes, and he was the child was about 10 years old now. And she was like, "Oh, thank you so much. You were helpful, and so on." And that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
Out of the blue, like I said, at the Dade County Fair, at all places.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's many other people that you and hopefully I have touched and have improved, God willing, improved their lives and made them safer.
Yes. I'm pretty sure you have. You've never been walking to somebody who recognized you?
I have.
Is it scary or
I have.
Good?
Actually, I worked, when I was in law school, I worked at Rikers Island.
Oh, man, Rikers in New York.
Yeah, I worked at Rikers Island. And when I came here, I worked for the Department of Corrections, and I worked for a prison system in the law library, and for a short period of time. And I met someone there. I rarely tell this story, but I met someone there, a Cuban man, and he was so embarrassed because here I am, a lawyer, etc. And he was sweeping, and he goes to me, this is the life of a prisoner. And I looked at him and I said, but that's an honest living. because he was sweeping. I said, that's an honest living. And he and I became, we got to know each other a little better. When I left that employment, I was at the public defender's office, in my office, and somebody says, there's someone here to see you. When I opened the door, it was that person. And he said to me, when you told me that it was an honest living to be sweeping the floor, it changed everything for me.
Wow.
I served my sentence. I got out. I started a cleaning business with my wife, and I have never been in trouble again.
Look at that.
Isn't that the smallest thing that you can say to someone? He had been, he was a habitual offender. I remember he told me, and he said, I am done. I said, you know what? You're very lucky, because his wife would come in to see him every week.
Wow.
And so he changed his life.
That's awesome. That's a good story.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes we don't know the things we say. That's why it's important. When they say words do matter, when you tell someone you can change their life for the better, or you can do it for the worse. That's why you always got to be positive about things.
And you really don't know. You really don't know who can change their life.
Yeah.
The second time I had somebody knock on my door like that was a young man. The biggest trial I had in my career as a lawyer. It was a 2-week trial, and he was found not guilty. He was found not guilty. He had another pending case, and he did his time. I was already a judge at this point. It was my first year as a judge. I guess he had been following my name, seeing my name in the papers and things like that. I get a knock. It's so-and-so. I recognized his name. I said, let him in. He came in. Johnny, he had served his time. He was on probation. And he said to me, I got out of prison. I'm on probation. I'll never be in trouble again. And I'm living with my significant other, a woman that was older than him. Mm-hmm. And he was working as a chef. I think he had started washing dishes, and then as an assistant, and then
right.
And so he never in trouble again that I know of.
And that's good.
It's very satisfying.
Good. So I got a few more questions.
Yeah.
What experience as an attorney best prepared you for serving as a judge?
Excellent question. So people wonder sometimes, how does a lawyer represent somebody committing a crime? How does that work? And it's not easy. It's something that takes a lot of thought, right? So a lawyer does not condone. It isn't that we agree with what the person, our client did. Nothing like that at all. But our job is to give them that constitutional officer that they're entitled to. So it's not like in Cuba, for example, where the judge, the prosecutor, and the defense attorney are all from the Cuban Communist Party, Right. You don't have anybody that's really fighting for you. You know what's going to happen at the end of the trial, It depends on what the party wants, right? So, we learn early on, and the same thing I think goes for the prosecutors. It's not like they're, that their witnesses are always, ideal,
right.
Law-abiding citizens. So we have to separate between ourselves and our role and our job. So when you learn that, and you do that for 19, 20 years like I did, it's easy actually to separate myself from one side or the other, just to sit back and to listen, keep an open mind, and let the attorneys and the parties tell me what happened. Well, this is what happened. This is how it occurred. And then for me, what's left for me is simply to interpret what the law that the legislature passed.
Right.
That's essentially my job, and it's my duty. It's my oath, is to follow what the legislature passed as a law. It doesn't matter whether I like it or don't like it, agree with it or don't agree with it. I am there to apply the law as it sits, as it applies to you, as it applies to me, fairly to everybody.
Okay. How is we get into era of technology now, and a lot of times now you can go online and file stuff. And so, how is your court using technology to improve access or efficiency to the cases?
Well, I'm thinking AI, artificial intelligence, when you say that. It can be a very, very helpful tool, but it can also be a very dangerous tool. And what I have seen, and I think what the general public doesn't know, is that when you do an AI search on something having to do with the law, sometimes you get what we call a hallucinated case. And that means that AI will make up a fake case, and it looks like it's a real case, and it can get you into some serious trouble in court. Very serious trouble. If a lawyer does it, they are subject to a bar complaint. So it's the court system has to take it very seriously, because if my job is to follow the law, then what is the law? We all have to identify the correct law.
Right.
So if you have someone telling you, oh, this is the law, but it's not a real case, or it's not a real statute, that could turn everything upside down.
Wow.
So it's very, very serious, very serious. The Florida Supreme Court just passed a new rule, and I believe it's June 15th. At 12:01 a.m., it becomes official that every lawyer has to say in their motions, by this signature, I promise that every case that I have cited is a real case. So yeah, we're taking it very, very seriously. So if you just got to be very careful.
Wow, I didn't realize that, but yeah. I guess, I think my son now, he has to, once he does a report, I think he's got to submit it through a system to see if it's how many percentages AI and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He was telling me.
Yes.
It's no, and I mean, technology is good for some things, and it can definitely be bad for others. Obviously, we learned that. Yeah. So, what advice would you give new lawyers who aspire to be judges? Like, what's, if they wanted to become a lawyer, what do they got to do? What are the steps?
Yeah. The number one piece of advice that I would give any lawyer, whether they are looking to a future as a judge or whatever it is, number one is stick to the rules of professionalism to the highest degree possible. Never misrepresent anything to the other side, to a judge. You can represent your client with all the passion in the world, but you can never, ever cross that line of misrepresenting or anything like that. Listen, it feels like there's a million lawyers in Florida, but it's actually a very small community. And a person can ruin their reputation by just messing up and breaking a rule like that, maybe once, and they think it's it doesn't matter. Absolutely not. Highest level of professionalism in the written work that you do, and coming to court or representing something to the judge or to anyone else. It's very important. If you do that, Johnny, then you're making a record for yourself that will serve you well the day that person wants to run for a to be a judge or anything else.
And is you said that there's, it seems like there's a million lawyers, which I think there is, but okay.
No.
I'll take your word for it. My son's a lawyer.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Is there a lot of competition to be a lawyer? To be judges? And I mean, I asked my son one time, and he said that he told me no, because they don't get paid enough. That's what he said.
That's
so
right.
judges do not get paid enough.
That
so
is true.
A lot of them stay in the private sector because there's a lot more money involved
That's
in
true.
that. So, but I mean, I don't know. If I was a lawyer, I'd want to be a judge.
You would want to.
Yes.
Are you public service oriented?
Yes, I am.
There's your answer right there. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to do well for yourself financially as a lawyer. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. More power to you. There are people who do want to do public service. I am one of those. My entire career has been devoted to public service. Your question was whether there's a lot of competition. I think that there are many people that think about it, dream about being a judge, but there are some serious limitations that a judge has to impose on himself or herself. Judges are not permitted to talk about politics. When we run for election, we don't run based on a party. We are non-party, non-partisan offices. So you have to be willing to be reserved about that. That's you can't do that. It would be a violation. You have to also be very mindful of what you say. Because anything might come before you as a judge, so you don't want to prejudge anything. You have to be respectful of everyone. You have to limit your comments. So being a judge can feel to some people very limiting.
Right.
Very constraining. But to those of us who've been doing it for a long time, it's just part of life. It's part of our jobs, and it just becomes second nature.
And I can imagine, within time, if you make it the first 6 years, I guess by then you're a little more seasoned and But I'm pretty sure that the first 2 years, every once in a while someone will make a mistake that they didn't realize they made a mistake. Because, these are things that you got to learn.
You do learn. You have to dedicate the time to learn. Yeah. You learn from other judges, and the other judges are very helpful. And there are tools that help us, assist us in knowing how to navigate those type of things. But it's part of our process, and our main job is to follow the law. That is what we do for a living.
No, and I can imagine it's hard. I hear my son, talk about, especially when he was in school, all the things he had to go through. But it was exciting. It felt like I was in law school sometimes. How they say sometimes you live through your children.
Yeah, we're proud parents.
Yes.
A month ago, I had the honor of swearing my daughter into the bar.
Look at that!
So
congratulations.
Not only did I swear her into the bar, but I swore her in as an assistant state attorney. So she's a prosecutor. So in my house, there was a defense attorney and then a prosecutor.
Wow. And for Dade County?
For Dade County.
Okay. When my son got first sworn in, it was with Judge Diana Gonzalez-White.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
she's still on the bench.
Yeah, she's still on the bench.
She's a young woman.
And he started working for the Broward State Attorney's Office.
Oh.
That's where he first started. Yeah,
Look
it was exciting. And I was there, and I was very proud.
Of course.
Yeah, very proud. Oh, now, earlier you said that you were like a certain amount of years in one place, then you went to substance, then you went to...
Right.
Why is that? Is that something that all judges do?
Yes.
Or do you request them to be moved from one place to the other?
No, it's actually, I think, a very fair thing. So the way that it works is we have a rotation every 3 years. So every 3 years, the judges will select their first, second, and third choice. Where they want to be placed. So I was placed in juvenile/dependency my first 3 years. Then once the rotation came around, I selected civil. So after that, I went to civil court for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And that was very difficult because I had never done a civil case before I got there. So it was a big learning curve, and the attorneys were amazing. They're very knowledgeable, very experienced, and they They do their job and they present their side of things to the court. So 3 years in juvenile dependency, then 3 years in civil, followed by 3 years in criminal. So I did, I think, about 18 trials, I believe, in jury trials when I was in criminal. And then after criminal, I'm back to civil, and that's where I'm at today.
Wow, okay.
I'm doing civil cases.
So you rotate. When you said that you got to put the three places, reminds me of in the military, we have something that we call it the dream shit. Because, you put down what you want, but, it's because, we all pick the best place. So the first one was a dream. So we go to dream. It's like CHIT, chit. That's what they call it in the military.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you said that, it made me laugh. It reminded me back when I was in the military. But yeah. Okay. So, and our time is running out, but I do want to go over and remind everyone, election is coming up.
Yeah.
And you're running for re-election now. The absentee ballots, they will be coming out sometime in July because the supervisor of elections, she's the one that decides more or less when that comes out. But something that we do know for sure is early voting starts August 3rd. And
August 3rd or August 8th?
No, August 3rd. Early voting starts August 3rd through August 16th. That's what the website said. That's right. Okay. The 17th, there's no voting at all, which is the Monday before election, and the election is August 18th.
Yeah, it's not November for this round.
No, it's August.
Yeah,
because
August.
All the judges go now in primary elections.
Right.
You have a website?
Yes, I do.
What is the website?
reelectjudgemavelruiz.com.
Okay.
And we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram, and I'm very happy to announce that the League of Prosecutors, endorsed me a few weeks ago, and this is the second time that they endorsed me. So, I mean, the League of Prosecutors are the attorneys that I worked against. So they were prosecuting and I was defending. And so to get their endorsement is one of the highlights of my career. And to get it twice is, I'm just very proud of that, because that means that they've dealt with me for 20, 30 years, and they found that I was worthy of their endorsement. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Okay, well, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's a milestone there.
Yeah, it's when your opponents are endorsing you. I mean, what better?
Definitely.
What better comment on your character?
You heard? Repeat the website again if we can come.
It's
and you can bring it up.
reelectjudgemavelruiz.com.
Okay, reelectjudgemavelruiz.com. Go on her website, see what she's about. I recommend everybody do that with all the sitting judges. It's important. A lot of us go and we just go down for our governors, our presidents, and so on. But we got to pay attention to our judges too. They're the ones that make decisions. They're the ones that God forbid, one of our children are in front of, or a family member in front of. So do not leave the judges out. Look them up real quick. See who they are. See how long they've been in. How long they've been sitting there. There's a lot of great judges. I've heard very good things about Judge Ruiz. We don't know each other personally in a lot. We've ran a couple of times, so it isn't like I've known her for years. I don't, but I do like what she stands for. Everyone, you got to go out and vote. Look them up. Look up her website. She can't ask for donations, so if you see a judge you like, you personally hit the donate button. They need help too. I don't know what else to say, but it's important that we go out and we exercise our right to vote. This August, starting August 3rd, early voting. August 18th is election day. Let's not forget. And I will be reminding you every time I do my shows on Tuesdays about this, because it's very important, especially now more than ever. Our county, our state, our country. Do I need to say more? We need help. Judge, thank you so much for taking your time to come out. I know everybody gets nervous, so thank you again for coming out, and good luck, and I hope to see you on election day, you back on your bench.
I appreciate that, Johnny. Thanks for the invitation, and God bless your audience, and God bless the United States of America, and I appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much. Everyone, have a great day, have a great weekend, a safe weekend, and I will see you here next Tuesday.